Now let's look at an example of limiting infusion volumes. We're given an order for D5LR 3000 milliliters IV for 24 hours with cefazolin 1 gram IVPB per 100 milliliters in dextrose, administered every 6 hours, running for 1 hour. We're asked to limit total volume of fluids to 3000 milliliters per day. The drip factor is 10 drops per milliliter. In this case, we're going to break this down into several different parts, the first of which asks me to calculate the flow rate of the intravenous piggyback. So the rate at which we're interested in is going to be drops per minute. Well, we have in this case part of this that we can isolate. The IVPB is going to be at a rate of 100 milliliters for every 1 hour. So that's the rate at which this is going to be delivered. We, of course, need this in drops per minute. So we have, of course, the drop factor given. And we also happen to be able to convert easily the hour to minutes. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. If we go through our computation here, we should get 16.6 repeating drops per minute. Now this is certainly in a case where it's important to round. We can't have 0.6 of a drop, and so we'll include that drop for our solution. So we have 17 drops per minute here for our answer. Part 2 asks us to calculate the time it will take to administer the intravenous piggyback over the course of the 24 hours. So we note here that this is going to be administered every 6 hours. So over the course of 24 hours, we'll divide that by 6 hours, which means we'll do this 4 times. Since we'll be administering the IVPP 4 times, and it takes an hour each time, that will come for a total of 4 hours IVBP. How much volume of the IVBP are we going to administer? Well, in this case, again, we know that the rate is 100 milliliters over the course of an hour. Since it's going to take 4 hours in total, the computation here gives us 400 milliliters So we'll actually need to remove that from the total that we're trying to limit. Let's continue. Part 4 then asks us to calculate the volume of regular IV fluids that are going to be administered. So in between all the IVPB doses, we'll have the regular IV fluid. Well, we just calculated that the total here of 3,000 milliliters should be subtracted from the 400 milliliters of IVPB that we just calculated, giving us a total of 2,600 milliliters of regular IV that needs to be administered. So part 5 here, we're now asked to then calculate the time between the IVPP. So we know that this is for 24 hours, and it will take the fluids that are IVPB 4 hours in total, leaving me with 20 hours of regular IV to administer. In part part 6, we're asked to then calculate the flow rate. In other words, what are the drops per minute that we need to set our device at? Well, we've calculated then the regular IV is 2,600 milliliters. Dividing that across the 20 hours that we have, that doesn't include our piggyback IV. The drop factor is given to us as 10 drops per minute, or excuse me, per milliliter. And lastly, we'll convert simply from hours to minutes. When we run through our calculation in this case, again, we get 21.6 repeating, which will round then to a nice whole number of 22 drops